Hello, chess fans. It's Craig Marr again, bringing you another edition of Mastery of the Middle Game, and in today's game, Mastery of the End Game. Now, it's been rumored that Magnus Carlsen has been one of the best endgame players around over the last 20 years. Maybe the best endgame player since Fischer. And not only in an offensive capacity, but in a defensive capacity. I've seen so many times when Carlsen was in a bad endgame and he managed to draw it. And that was one of the greatest characteristics of the great Bobby Fischer. You know, we've seen many examples where Fischer, dead lost, comes back to draw the game. But anyway, today's featured game is with the young phenom, Hans Niemann. Now, Hans was originally from the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. So I played Hans, a number of blitz games when Hans was like 10 years old. And I wasn't particularly impressed by the brat. In fact, he beat so many of my friends, we started to call him Hans Demon. And the kid was very cocky, if he beat you or, he got you somehow, he would kind of make fun of you a little bit, So he was kind of he was a brat, And to tell you the truth, I never thought Hans would amount to much. Because, hey, the kid's talented, but doesn't seem to have character, Sure, I think Hans will someday be a master, but that's about as far as he's ever going to get. So it was kind of a surprise for me when I see Hans and winning the World Open and then cracking 2700. It's just fantastic. Anyway, this is probably one of the most interesting games of the Sinkfeld tournament, in which Magnus had white, Magnus Carlsen, the highest rated player in the world, against our own Hans Niemann. Now let's look at it and also put it on the computer. So it starts out Nimzo Indian. Now that's weird. This is a opening champion by Garry Kasparov and Oleg Romanishin, one of the strong Russian players. But it's a very weird sideline. Let's see how Hans responded here. D5 is right. Now it seems to me that this variation probably works better against c5, but I really don't know the intricacies of the so-called Kasparov-Romanishin variation. Now that looks kind of suspect. You're giving up a tempo, and you're also losing a pawn. Now, Magnus is one of those players that he was never all that booked up. And this is really showing, because I really don't think white is really going to get much out of this. In fact, what's going to happen is that black is already equal according to the computer. So the opening has kind of already gone wrong for white. But Magnus, no fear, Magnus has, been in tougher situations before. Now, it's going to be a bit of a headache to try to regain that pawn. And Magnus probably thought, okay, I'm going to go into the end game against the rookie. So, this is Magnus's strong point. He's still, in my opinion, the best endgame player in the world. And so, what chances, young Hans Niemann have against Carlsen? But watch carefully how white gradually gets outplayed. Now the computer gives this as equal, but look at these ugly, broken up queenside pawns here. Black is clearly a little bit better. I mean, you know, I don't know, these are always going to be targets for the rest of the game pretty much. They're all weak pawns. So that's good. Now the bishops is going to be developing on the e6 square, and this queen is going to get kicked around. That I might object to a little bit, because normally in a position that's wide open like this, you want to keep your two bishops. The problem with this is that once I play the move h6, white cannot retreat back here. He's going to be compelled to give up his two bishop advantage and then be stuck with these weak queenside pawns. So I really think a4 might have been better, you know, in that position, to try to develop the bishop out maybe to a3 or something, but anyway, this is development's going to lead to trouble. Now that's correct. The computer likes bishop takes f6 here, but Carlson played here, and that's bishop e6 is a move recommended by the computer. Now, it's hard for, you know, for the queen to find a home. I mean, the white queen to find a home. The endgame is slightly better for black. So takes, 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 takes. Now here, you know, we're getting into a real endgame now. Now these moves are all pretty much forced for white. And you would think that Carlson should be able to hold this ending. But black definitely has the edge. Now if we were to trade rooks here, it's a draw, but the fact that, you know, black keeps the rook on the board is a good thing, because these pawns on the queen side are weak and much easier to attack when the rook is on the board. When the rooks are off the board, he could easily bring his king up and start protecting everything. So this is kind of the interesting portion of the game here. Now that's an exclam, because the knight is guarding b7 and, you know, preparing invasions either on b3 or c4. And now this kind of looks logical. Now that's the first really strong move of the game, you know. You got to keep the rooks on here. That's good. Now the computer has black already ahead by 0.4. That's a lemon. I mean, rook c1 is best. You know, your best, you know, bet here is to try to hang on, even though black already is better after rook c1, because you're on the defensive here, but it's still the best. So I don't know, I don't really see any compensation here. Now, you know, I think that maybe I would be thinking about to move g4 here to hold back the pawns, you know. But I don't really agree with the next couple of moves by white, because you're not stopping f5. I don't want the king to come out, and I don't want the pawns to start getting active. So yeah, f5 is good here. Yeah, f3 makes total sense. You gotta prevent e4, you know. Now, up to this point, I mean, it's still a game. Um, but, you know, I kind of prefer maybe f3 here in this position. f3 rather than g4. Computer hates g4. You know, okay, it's kind of a lemon. Now, see that bishop is on kind of a, you know, kind of a weird, awkward square there. So... Now everybody says bishop takes knight is correct, but I don't know how you're going to hold after the rook gets to a4, followed by b5. I don't see how you're going to hold that. How white's going to draw that. You know. So that looks probably best, although black has a big edge now. Now, the computer hates that move, but I think it's completely okay, you know, completely okay. This is where Hans makes some great moves. And black, you know, black still has the edge here. Now, Hans is repeating because of the time control. Gets out of the pin. Now I love that move because, you know, black wants to trade rooks here big time, you know, with the outside pass pawns. And this is where rook e7 is recommended. Computer hates that move, and I can understand why. Because after this, you're practically compelled to trade rooks now. And when you trade rooks, it's probably dead loss. Computer doesn't like that. I totally disagree with the computer here. I think king f5 is correct. And now at this point, the computer says it's over. It's just over. Exclam. Computer doesn't like that. Now he's just giving away pawns. Give me that. It's just loss at this point. Now it looks like white has drawing chances, but the knight is going to start coming back and get the a-pawn. And then once he gets the a-pawn, it's over. Knight d4, knight e5, same thing. This is the last chance, but it's completely hopeless at this point. So there were allegations of cheating in this game, but I saw them and I didn't see any cheating in the game. You know, it's very hard to cheat over the board. If you're playing online, it's very easy to cheat. Thanks for watching, folks.